AutoVision News live at AutoSens. We're here in Detroit at the Michigan Science Center for what has been an exciting week of ADAS and automotive thought leadership. AutoSens is a best-in-class event that brings together the ADAS community, and the industry experts that you see and meet here at AutoSens are helping to shape the future of mobility. One such expert joins us here at the AutoVision News Desk. Michael Woon is a co-founder of Retrospect, an autonomous vehicle safety validation company based not far away in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Since its founding 3 years ago, Michael has helped lead Retrospect's core autonomous safety solutions. He has consulted with some of the leading autonomous vehicle operators and developers on autonomous vehicle safety concepts, and Michael has also been an invited speaker for AV safety in Europe and the US prior to founding Retrospect. He joins us at the AutoVision News Desk today. Michael, welcome and thank you for being with us.
Hi, Carl. Thank you.
So, Michael, tell us a little bit about Retrospect. Tell us about the company and sort of your inspiration behind being one of the co-founders.
Yeah, so Retrospect is a startup in autonomous space, in autonomous safety assurance.
Sure.
And my co-founder, Mike Diaz, and I originally had some experience in automotive doing real-time optimization and constraints.
Sure.
And that background of understanding how vehicles can make decisions based on a cost-benefit analysis and making decisions that are best for the vehicle, we had that knowledge. And when we realized that autonomous vehicle technology is based on that same underlying technology, but now we have to add a level of safety assurance, we realized that we had a way of thinking about the problem that probably a lot of people didn't in the industry. So we knew that needed to come to the industry. That's what really prompted us to go out and start Retrospect, to start solving this problem and bringing it, the technology to fruition.
Right. Michael, we have, and everybody here at AutoSens in the industry, we have a pretty good knowledge and understanding of autonomous vehicles and ADAS, but what about the general public? Beyond us, when it goes to the car dealership, it goes to the average everyday buyer. What do we need to do to make sure the public has a really good understanding of this technology?
Yeah, well, from a safety assurance perspective, I think the public actually knows quite a bit more than I think we give them credit for.
Sure. Okay.
When it comes down to real, technical nuances and details, obviously the public's not going to be as informed about certain sensors and weaknesses and strengths in the technology as those of us who are closer to the industry. Although I think those of us close to the industry also, don't fully know as much when it comes to safety assurance.
I'd agree. Yes.
So I think the public does know quite a bit about safety assurance, in that they do have concerns long term about the liability, the safety assurances, things like that.
Sure.
I think we sort of do it a disservice if we sort of summarize the public's concern about safety as merely, they just need to get comfortable with it. Once they try it out a couple times, they'll get used to that.
Right.
That's certainly the case when you try new technology. Getting firsthand up-close experience, you do start to realize, this is pretty normal.
Sure.
But I think that's not the full picture, really, in terms of the safety assurance aspect of it.
Right.
So I think the public does have some legitimate concerns. I think transparency is what's really needed to win over the public and explain this is how we are taking care of our potential hazards in this technology.
Right. So with that in mind, Michael, speaking of transparency, let's just say that hypothetically, you're at one of the big autonomous vehicle developers. What do you do in the short term? What do you do in the long term to ensure that everything is safe, that the system is safe?
The first thing I would do, if I was working at one of the big AV development groups, and I was in charge of the safety, is I would make sure that the management, the stakeholders, were all on the same page in the long-term value and what are we really going for long-term.
Right.
Because that is where, not necessarily for my financial interests, I'm obviously going to be concerned with safety.
Yeah.
But we have to understand what is it that we're going for, because the second generation of AV technology, where we're going to recoup a lot of that investment, we're going to have to make sure it's very profitable. And the second generation is going to be a lot of cost cutting. And the second generation AVs are going to be very, very different than these first generation AVs. So I'd want to make sure we're in alignment on what is the most efficient, most bare minimum necessary safety architecture that we're going to need.
Right.
Because if our short-term solution is just let's build more, let's add more until we feel like we're safe enough, that might work for a little bit. But as soon as we start having to decontent and lower costs, increase profitability, we might find ourselves we don't have a viable solution to begin with. So that's what I would focus on is what's our long-term safety strategy.
Sure. That makes sense. Artificial intelligence is a word that we hear a lot in conjunction with automotive, but beyond just a buzzword, beyond something that's just in headlines and in a press release, what is artificial intelligence? Why does it matter? And why should we take it seriously? What do we need to be looking for there?
Yeah, artificial intelligence is fantastic. The the tools and the capabilities today are just really incredible because it's doing things that we could never imagine software ever being able to do. That being said, again, when it comes to safety assurance, there are problems obviously with AI because we're doing things to do before. And there's the issue of repeatability and the very, very small chance that it's actually going to do something that we don't want it to do is frankly always inherent in the technology. So from a safety perspective, we need to figure out how to incorporate that, use that to our advantage, but also have additional technologies surrounding it and underlying it that is probably really going to bear the safety burden. But yeah, I think that's how we look at AI from a safety perspective.
Right. The ethics in autonomous vehicles. We're potentially asking the driver to trust us, to remove. Does the system, how does it do the risk calculation? Is it looking out for my safety, my family's safety? We have the technical discussion. I feel like we're so good at that. What is the ethics and the philosophical discussion? Why is it important?
Yeah, I think that's a real critical area that, again, maybe the discussions we've had so far have led us to, things like the trolley problem and like, would it be better to, hit two people over here or one person over here?
I'm going to pull the lever.
Or you're going to pull a lever. And of course, these are really, really fruitless and the necessary discussions. These are not how we think about driving safely. We don't ever train ourselves to, always make sure. What we train ourselves as drivers is, and if we're uncertain about the way other people are behaving, or if we're uncertain about our ability, we always go to the a safe way of operating. We slow the vehicle down, pull over, we change so that we stay within our ability to manage. And that's exactly how we're going to have to handle it from an ethics perspective. Is the developers need to fully understand what their limitations are, which are technology based. We often just think of it as the technology as like being like a human. Well, it has its own unique limitations. So that's how the ethics challenges get solved, is by understanding the own limitations and staying within a safety margin away from that. And then you never have to make any of those no-win situation decisions.
It's wonderful to pick your brain on all this, Michael. In addition to the technical side, the autonomous vehicle side, you're also just a diehard automotive enthusiast. I was excited to learn because two of my favorite engines are the Chevrolet 5.3 and the 6.2, which are found in the Silverado. Two of my favorite engines. I'm also a Mopar muscle enthusiast, Hemi, Charger, Challenger. Your engine is a small block Chevy. Why? Let's talk about it. Let's have a Detroit car enthusiast discussion.
Yeah. My number one favorite engine personally is a small block from personal experience. That was the first one I rebuilt and ran in a 1980 Camaro. So I really enjoyed working on that. I've come to appreciate the kind of the industrial manufacturing side of that. Love being able to buy brand new parts and 50-year-old parts and mix and match it, and it's a long-lasting engine. But there are others out there too. I like top fuel drag racing. You mentioned the Hemi. It's nice to be able to take 17 gallons of fuel and burn it in a couple of seconds. So there are a lot of other close runner-ups to the small block.
And they're still making those crate engines. You still see the press release from Mopar and from Chevy. They'll have a new crate engine. So that enthusiast culture is alive and well. Michael, how did
For sure.
how did you get into automotive? Was it through the engines and the industrial and the love of cars?
Oh,
How did you get into the business?
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it was from growing up around it and my
Yeah.
own personal love and seeing it around, the house and the garage. Had a family of engineers. Dad did a lot of work on cars and did racing and things like that. So, I was always drawn to it right from the get-go.
I love it. Michael, from all of us here at AutoVision News and AutoSense, I want to wish you the best of luck going forward. Thank you for your time and sharing your thought leadership with us. And we wish you, again, just all the best of luck going forward. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you.